You ever see a tractor listed online that looks too good to be true? Clean paint, low hours, price that makes your heart skip a beat. I'm Silas Mercer, and I've been in the field for over 40 years. I've seen it all, and I'm here to tell you, I watched a man drive nearly 4 hours to see a tractor that was perfect in the photos. 2 weeks later, he was $4,000 deep in repairs that a proper inspection would have caught. That's not a story. That's a Tuesday. So let's save you from becoming that story. Here are the 7 biggest mistakes I see folks make when they're buying a used tractor. And stick around to the end, because I'm going to give you my personal inspection routine that I've used on every single machine I've ever bought or approved. Let's get into it. Mistake number 7. Falling in love with a fresh coat of paint. I get it. A shiny tractor catches the eye. It looks like it just rolled off the line. But let me tell you about a time I went to look at a family farm's tractor. It was a mid-90s model and it looked absolutely mint. The paint was deep, the decals were crisp. The owner was proud of it, but I noticed something right away. The paint on the engine block was a little too uniform, and the bolts on the valve cover, they were painted over. That's a red flag, folks. When a bolt has been turned with a wrench, the paint cracks and wears. If the paint is perfect over the bolt head, it means someone painted it after it was assembled. Or worse, they painted it to hide something. I looked closer and saw a faint dark stain bleeding through the fresh paint around the gasket of the hydraulic pump. That stain was old oil. They'd power washed it, painted it, and hoped no one would look. The guy was asking top dollar for a machine with a weeping pump seal. That's not a hard fix, but it's a negotiation point. And it tells you a lot about the seller's honesty. Here's the lesson. Paint isn't a sign of health, it's a sign of effort. The question is, what is that effort trying to hide? Look for overspray on rubber hoses, on the exhaust, on the tires. That's a telltale sign of a quickie paint job. A good tractor that's been cared for will have some wear. It will have some faded paint, some minor rust. That's honest. A perfect paint job on a 20-year-old machine is a lie. Paint doesn't fix a bad engine. It just makes it prettier while it burns your money. Remember that. Mistake number 6. Ignoring the hour meter. The hour meter is a starting point, not the final word. I knew a guy who bought a tractor with just under 1,000 hours on the clock. He thought he was getting a steal. But when I listened to the engine, it sounded tight. Too tight. And the oil pressure was low at idle. We pulled the dipstick and the oil was clean, but it was a little thin. The guy had the service records and they showed regular maintenance. But the tractor just didn't feel right. So I started asking questions. The seller mentioned he'd had a new dash put in a few years back. And there it was. The hour meter was new. The tractor had thousands of actual hours on it, but the dash was swapped. That's not illegal, but it's a deception if not disclosed. The engine, the transmission, the hydraulics, they all had way more wear than the meter suggested. The lesson here is simple. The hour meter is a guide, not a gospel. You need to look at the physical signs of wear. Check the pedals. If the rubber is worn smooth, that's a lot of use. Check the steering wheel, check the seat cushion. Check the wear on the gear shift knob. These are the parts that get touched every single time. They don't lie. A tractor with 800 hours should have a seat that looks almost new. If the seat is worn out and the meter says 800, you've got a problem. Also, listen to the engine. An engine that's been run hard for thousands of hours has a different sound. It's looser. It has a little more rattle. A low-hour engine should be quiet and smooth. Use your senses. Don't just read the numbers. Mistake number 5. Not checking the fluids. This one sounds basic, but you'd be surprised how many people skip it. I'm not just talking about checking the oil level. I'm talking about smelling it, feeling it, and looking at its color. Let me tell you about a tractor I was asked to inspect for a neighbor. It was a nice big 4-wheel drive unit. The engine oil on the dipstick looked fine, but when I opened the hydraulic reservoir, the fluid was milky. It looked like a strawberry milkshake. That's water contamination. That means water is getting into the hydraulic system, and that's a death sentence for pumps and valves. The seller said he'd never had a problem, but that milky fluid told a different story. It meant there was a leak somewhere, maybe a bad seal on a cooler or a cracked housing. Replacing a hydraulic pump on that machine was going to run him $5,000. I told my neighbor to walk away. He didn't. He bought it at a discount thinking he could fix it cheap. He couldn't. The whole system was compromised. He ended up spending more than a clean machine would have cost. So here's what you do. Check the engine oil. It should be amber and clear. If it's black and gritty, it's old and hasn't been changed. Check the coolant. It should be bright green or pink, not rusty brown. And check the hydraulic fluid. It should be clear and have a faint, oily smell. If it smells burnt, or looks milky, or has metal flakes in it, you're looking at a major repair. Dip a clean finger in it and rub it between your thumb and forefinger. You're feeling for grit. That grit is metal wearing away inside your future wallet. Walk away from that tractor. It's not a bargain. It's a liability. Mistake number 4. Forgetting to look underneath. Folks get so focused on the engine and the paint that they forget to lie on their backs. But the underside of a tractor tells you more about its life than the hood ever will. I remember inspecting a tractor for a young couple who were buying their first farm. They were so excited. The top of the tractor looked great, but when I slid underneath with a flashlight, I saw it. The front axle was caked in mud and grease. That's normal for a working tractor. But when I poked at the grease with a screwdriver, it was hiding a crack in the axle housing. A big one. That crack was a structural failure waiting to happen. It would have snapped under load, and that could have been dangerous. The couple was devastated, but they dodged a bullet. That axle would have cost them the price of the tractor to replace. You need to get under the machine. Look at the steering linkage. Look for bent tie rods. Look at the drive shafts and the universal joints. Check for leaks around the transmission and the final drives. Look at the welds. Are they factory welds, or are they rough, handmade welds? A handmade weld on a critical component means someone was repairing a break, and that break will likely happen again. Bring a good flashlight and a small pry bar. Use the pry bar to test for cracks in the frame and the loader arms. A little bit of surface rust is okay. Deep rust, flaking rust, that's structural. It's a sign that the metal is weak. Don't let a pretty top fool you. The bottom of the tractor is where the truth lives. Mistake number 3. Not running it under load. This is a big one. A tractor can sound perfect sitting in the yard idling, but a tractor is made to work. You have to test it under load. I had a guy once who was selling a tractor that sounded like a dream at idle. Smooth, quiet, no smoke. But when I hooked it up to a disc and started pulling, the engine started laboring and blowing black smoke. That's an overfueling problem. The injector pump was worn out. It was dumping too much fuel, and the engine couldn't burn it all. At idle, it was fine. Under load, it was a disaster. Another time, I tested the hydraulics by hooking up a large baler. The 3-point hitch struggled to lift it. The hydraulic pump was weak. The seller had told me the hydraulics were perfect. They weren't. They were on their last legs. So, you need to test it. If you can, hook it up to something heavy. A disc, a baler, a loaded wagon. If you can't, you can test the hydraulics by lifting something heavy with the loader. Let it run at full throttle and see if the engine starts to strain. Watch the temperature gauge. See if it overheats. Listen for any unusual noises like a knocking sound from the engine or a whining sound from the hydraulics. A whine is never good. It means the fluid is struggling to move, which means the pump is wearing out. And always check the transmission. Put it in every gear, forward and reverse. Listen for grinding. A grinding gear is a costly repair. You can't just trust a smooth idle. You have to make it work for you. That's the only way to know if it can handle your work. Mistake number 2. Skipping the compression test. This is a step that most people skip, and it's a costly one. A compression test tells you the health of your engine cylinders. It's a simple test that any mechanic can do, and it only takes about 30 minutes. But it can save you from buying a tractor that needs a full engine rebuild. I was looking at a tractor once that started right up, ran fine, no smoke. The owner was asking a premium price, but I had a feeling, so I asked if we could do a compression test. He agreed, a little reluctantly. We pulled the glow plugs and tested each cylinder. 2 of the 4 cylinders were significantly lower than the other 2. That means those cylinders are worn. The rings are shot. The engine was running on borrowed time. A rebuild on that engine was going to be at least $6,000. The owner had no idea. He was genuinely surprised. But that test saved my buyer from a massive headache. If you don't know how to do a compression test, hire a mechanic to do it. It's $100 well spent. It's 1,000 times cheaper than a rebuild. The engine is the heart of the tractor. If the heart is weak, the whole machine is a problem. Don't trust a smooth start. Get the numbers. Get the test. It's the only way to know what's really going on inside. Mistake number 1. Not bringing a second pair of eyes. The biggest mistake The one that costs people the most money is going alone. When you're excited about a tractor, your brain plays tricks on you. You see what you want to see. You hear what you want to hear. You downplay the problems. You justify the issues. I've done it myself. I've been excited about a machine and missed things that my buddy spotted in 2 seconds. I remember once I was helping a friend look at a tractor. I was so focused on the engine and the hydraulics that I completely missed the fact that the rear tires were mismatched. One was a bias ply, the other was a radial. They were different sizes. That's not just a tire problem, that's a differential problem. Running mismatched tires on a 4-wheel drive tractor can destroy the transfer case. It puts constant stress on the drivetrain. I missed it. My friend didn't. He pointed it out and we walked away. That's why you need a second opinion. Bring a friend who knows tractors. Bring a mechanic if you can. Someone who isn't emotionally invested. Someone who will say, "Hey, that's a problem," when you're thinking, "That's a little thing I can fix later." That little thing is never little. It's always a symptom of something bigger. An objective eye is your best defense. It's your insurance policy. Don't go alone. It's the single most important thing you can do. All right, those are the 7 mistakes. Let me recap them for you. Number 7, don't trust a fresh paint job. Number 6, don't trust the hour meter. Number 5, check the fluids. Number 4, get underneath. Number 3, run it under load. Number 2, do a compression test. And number 1, bring a second pair of eyes. Now, as promised, here is my personal inspection routine. I've been using this for decades. First, I walk around the tractor and look for any obvious damage, dents, or leaks. Then I check the fluids. I do a full cold start, listening for any unusual noises. I check all the lights and gauges. Then, I do a hot start to see how it starts when it's warm. I crawl underneath with a flashlight and check all the critical points. I test the steering, the brakes, the clutch. I run it through all the gears. I hook it up to something heavy and test it under load. And finally, I do the compression test. It takes about 2 hours, but it saves me from making a costly mistake. Buying a used tractor can be a great investment. It can also be a financial disaster. The difference is, in the inspection, you have to be smart, you have to be thorough, and you have to be patient. If this video helped you, hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend who's in the market, and leave a comment below. Tell me about your own tractor buying story. I read every single one. This is Silas Mercer from Ironfield. Keep your eyes open and your wrenches tight. I'll see you in the next one.